All right, this video is about secondary chords other than dominant seventh chords, which are discussed in a different video. All right, so other chords that can be used as secondary chords that would also tonicize the next chord, whether it be major or minor. The same rules apply as what we had with secondary dominants. Okay, so you can see this first list. This is most common, okay? So second most common to using a 5-7 sound, so that major minor chord to tonicize another chord, would be a fully diminished chord, okay? And normally fully diminished chords are built on sevens, okay? So we call these leading tone 7 chords still, right? But of whatever key or chord that they're tonicizing. So you can see like tonicizing 5 would be most common, right? And then 4, and then notice I only put the minor 2 version, right? So if we were in the major key, right? Versus like you see with 4, right? You can do it if you're in the major key with major 4 or minor 4, right? So on and so forth. Okay, we won't see examples in this one, but it is also possible to use other chords to tonicize the next major or minor chord, okay? So sometimes you run into chords with accidentals in them that still kind of go with the next chord, but it's not necessarily the 5 or the 7 chord. So a 2, especially half diminished, so pretend that that has a little slash through it. I just don't have that symbol on my keyboard. So yeah, 2 half diminished 7, usually tonicizing a 5, okay? That could be something that you see, okay? Or just the triad version too, right? Same thing goes with all these 7 chords. You could just use the triad version too. So it could just be like the 7 of 5, right? So not 7, 7, right? So it could just be a leading tone triad versus the whole fully diminished 7th chord. Another chord that can be used to tonicize would be a 4 chord, right? Which if you listen to the Beatles' Hey Jude at the very end, I mean, depending on which version you're listening to, I think the original is in C, but it has a B flat chord and then F and then C. So if you think of that B flat, it's going to the F chord next, right? But B flat doesn't make any sense in C, right? It would be a flat major 7, which doesn't really make sense in that case. So really it sounds like a 4 of 4 because the next chord it goes to is 4 and then it goes to 1. So anyway, so if you need an example of that, go listen to the last part of Hey Jude. It does that over and over again. Okay. So here are some examples. Okay, and like I said before, we're mainly going to see this kind of secondary chord, okay, this 7 chord, okay? So this one is actually half diminished, okay, which is fine too. You can use half diminished or fully diminished, okay? This one would be fully diminished if we had an F natural on the top, but we don't, right? This one still has an accidental though, so we can't just call it, oh, I mean, it's built on G sharp, right? It's a G sharp, B, D, F sharp chord, and it doesn't make any sense in the key of D, right? So if you look at the next chord over though, you can kind of tell, oh, this one looks like it might be a leading tone, right? And quality of this chord is half diminished, right? The only Roman numerals that can be half diminished are the 7, right? And a 2 chord if you think in minor, right? If a 2 chord is in minor and it has a 7th on it, it's half diminished, okay? Just like the 7 chord, okay? Okay, and then if you compare it to down here, this one you'll hear a fully diminished chord, okay? So the root of this one is A sharp. We've got A sharp, C sharp is in our key, it's bass clef, right? And then E and G, that's a fully diminished 7 chord. And you can see that leading tone goes right into that B, right? So you can kind of tell, oh, yeah, this is a fully diminished 7 chord that's tonicizing 6 because it's tonicizing B, okay? All right, I will play the piano part, so. Okay, that's what the whole thing sounded like. Now let's just isolate the chords. Okay, so this one, we've got that half diminished chord that's tonicizing our 5, okay? And we do get 5, right? It just does this cadential kind of pattern first, okay? So it really is going to an A chord, okay? Don't worry. So I'm gonna skip over this one. Well, I'll play I'll play all three of those chords. So here's our 7 half diminished. 1, 6, 4, 5. So you can hear that chord definitely is leading us to that 5. Okay. Same thing down here. So this fully diminished that's tonicizing 6 sounds like this. Oh, sorry. Okay. All right, so rules with resolving these chords. Same rules as normal. Leading tones have to resolve up, 7s have to go down, okay? So if we're talking about this kind of chord, then the leading tone is actually the root, right? So the root is going to go up by step, right? So the leading tone, or temporary leading tone, goes up by semitone. And then our 7th usually goes down. So this one, not as good of an example. The 7th is actually that F sharp, right? And when it can't immediately go down, you usually keep it the same, right? The next thing that he should have done is take it down to E, right? But I mean, it's Schubert, so I guess he can do what he wants, right? But it should have gone down to E. The next one is a better example of how to like really textbook resolve it. So the leading tone right here is the A sharp, and it does resolve up to B. Okay, so we've got A sharp, C sharp, E, G is the 7th, and you can see in this one, yeah, that G does do what it's supposed to, and it does go down by step to the F sharp. Okay, all right, let's see some more examples. Okay, oops, sorry. Okay, so this is an example from Schumann, okay? And notice too, as I play it, there's going to be some secondary chords as well, right? We've got a 5, 7 of 3, or just 5, sorry, not a 5, 7. So 5 of 3, and then it goes to a 3, right? Yeah, and you can tell, like, if you look right here, this is basically a harmonic sequence. So he's doing 5, 1 in this key, right? This is basically 5, 1 in our relative major, so in 3. And then he does 5, 1 again in our original key of B minor, okay? And then starting down here is when we will get some secondary chords, okay? So you'll hear this fully diminished 7 that's temporarily going to tonicize 4, okay? It's gonna sound like it resolves once it gets to here. And then this one doesn't resolve. Okay, he's doing a chain of fully diminished 7 chords, which is legal, but not something that we're talking about right now. Okay, so this one though, you can hear right here, they're trying to tell you that all of this is going to temporarily sound like a different key. Okay, this whole section makes sense if you think of it in our 5 key, which is F sharp. Okay. And if you think in F sharp, yeah, that is the 7 chord in F sharp, right? This is the 1 chord in F sharp, right? So the 5. This is the 5 in F sharp, right? So it's a way to say like that this is the 7 fully diminished, that 4/2 inversion of 5, right? This is the 1, 6, 4 of 5. This is the 5 of 5, and this is the 5. This is just like the simpler version, so you can see, oh yeah, this is really a normal progression, right? 7, cadential 6, 4, 5, 7, 1, right? But all of this is actually in the key of F sharp, okay? All right, so here's what it sounds like, the piano part. This one even surprised me a little bit because we've got fully diminished, and then it finally resolves. Anyway, okay, so looking back at this one, if we're thinking in the key of our 4 key, right, that's E minor, right? The leading tone to E is D sharp, right? So this chord right here, the root is D sharp. So we've got D sharp, F sharp, A natural, and C natural. It's a fully diminished 7 chord. And the only Roman numeral that makes sense is 7, if it's a fully diminished 7 chord, okay? Same thing as secondary dominants. We're always trying to label chords with Roman numerals so that it shows its function. So when we label it like this, what we're kind of showing is that next chord that we expect is a 4, and that's what we get, okay? Okay, next. All right, so here's a Beethoven example, okay? All right, and we're going to see a secondary chord right here. Okay, which doesn't quite go where we expect. Anyway, here's what it sounds like. Okay, so the secondary chords in here are the same. Okay, let's look at this one just because this is the one that resolves more like how we would expect. Okay. Okay, so the root right here is A sharp, okay? A sharp, C sharp is the one that's implied, okay? If you go back over here, there really is a C sharp, okay? And then we've got an E and a G. He leaves some stuff out just because of some like voicing and stuff that he's doing in his sonata. But since we heard that same chord over here, our ear would still kind of hear, oh yeah, that's that same chord that we had over here, right? Okay, so just think A sharp, C sharp, E, and G, okay? Spelling that we have right here, okay? But if you look right here, he doesn't resolve it like you would expect, right? Because that leading tone doesn't go up. 7 does go down right here, but the main problem is that leading tone doesn't go to B like we expect, versus this one does, right? So this one, we've got A sharp going up, right? And then this G goes down by step, like we would expect, okay? All right, more examples. Okay, so this is a Schumann, okay? This is kind of the same thing as what we saw just a couple examples ago. So right here, you have to pretend like this section is actually temporarily in our 6th key, which is D minor, okay? And then it all makes sense, okay? So if you think in D minor, this A chord is just a 5-7 chord, right? And this G sharp fully diminished 7 is just the 7 and 5, okay? But yeah, you do have to think of it as temporarily in a different key. So D minor right there, okay? Then this one is tonicizing our 5 chord. He just smooths it out a little bit by inserting a cadential 6-4, okay? Because we've got the cadence coming up, okay? All right, so this one's going to be in the original key. So our 5 chord in the original key is C, right? Our leading tone to C is this B natural, okay? So you can see that B natural going up. So on and so forth. Okay. Okay. This rhythm still tricked me. I even played through this before. Oh well. Okay, next example, just so that you can see a bunch of examples. All right, this one, I'm just going to let you kind of look through this. I'm going to play the reduction part just because I'm one person, okay? But really we're in the key of D, okay? And we'll go back to this slide so that you can see the like Roman numeral analysis, okay? Here's the second half. Okay, so what I'm going to play is this textural reduction, okay? It just is cutting out all the non-chord tones and it's just lining up all of the chords, okay? This is what you could also call a metric reduction too, okay? Okay, so this one is also labeled with just the like actual chord quality, like by name, right? So you'll see the first one's a D chord, right? A7D, which in the key of D makes perfect sense, right? It's just 1-5-1, okay? So as I play through this textural reduction, just see if you can think of like the chords that don't belong, think of like where they're going, okay? All right, here's what it sounds like for just the textural reduction. And this thing is in 12/8, okay? So that first chord's going to sound maybe sort of long, but. So that's the reduction part, okay? All right, so like I said before, this was 1-5-1, right? Okay, G sharp right here doesn't make sense in our key of D, right? And that makes absolutely no sense, okay? Neither does C sharp. C sharp doesn't make any sense either, okay? F sharp, though, does belong in our key of D. And so if you back up, oh, C sharp is just the 5 in F sharp, right? And if you think about what G sharp is, that's just the 2 chord in F sharp, right? So let me back up slide so that you can see, maybe, come on, there we go. Okay, so you can see right here, right? You have to momentarily pretend that you're in F sharp, which is our 3 key, okay? So this is really a 2 half diminished 6/5 of 3, right? And then this is that C chord, that C sharp chord was 5 of 3, right? And then it did go to a 3, right? Which is written as 1 right here, right? So that you can kind of see that progression where it goes 2, 5, 1, which is a pretty normal progression, right? Okay, then if you look at the next one, F sharp as a half diminished chord does not make any sense in the key of D, right? And B as a major minor 7 chord also doesn't make sense, but E minor does, right? E minor is just our 2 chord. So you can see right here, it's actually the same pattern as what we had before. It's doing 2, 5, 1, but in a different key, right? So it's temporarily tonicizing E minor right here, okay? So that 2 chord, okay? And if we think in E minor, F sharp's just our 2, which is half diminished if we're in minor, right? And then that B7 chord, just a 5 chord, 6/5 inversion because D sharp is in the bass. And then it goes to its like temporary 1, but really that's a 2 chord like in our key, right? So all of this stuff is in our 2 key, okay? This is what we call expanded tonicization. So when you have more than just like 1 chord that's tonicizing like the next chord, you can put them all over this like bracket thing, and it's saying the same thing, right? This is really the 2 of 2, right? This is the 5 of 2, and this is, well, 1 of 2. It really is the 2. Okay. Okay. All right, so this one is not labeled, so you get to figure it out on your own. Okay, and you might have been mad that it just ended right there because that was the 5 chord. Okay, so we are in the key of A, right? There are 2 secondary chords in this one. If you haven't found both of them, go ahead and pause the video. Okay, and if you are watching, I will assume that you have figured it out. All right, so our first accidental is G sharp, right? But that's really just the leading tone, okay, in our key of A minor. So this is just a 5 chord, okay, with an A suspension, so that made it more exciting. Okay, next chord over, C sharp, E, G natural, B flat. That is a fully diminished 7 chord. The only Roman numeral that works is 7, okay? So that means that C sharp is our leading tone to D, okay? And D is our 4 chord. So the way that you would label it is a 7, fully diminished 7 of 4, okay? Because that's where we're going, it's 4. Okay, this one is pretty similar. So D sharp, F sharp, A, C. D sharp is the root and the leading tone, right? To E, which is our 5. Okay. So this is a 7, fully diminished 7 of 5. Same rules apply. See how these leading tones go up, right, in both cases. And then this is our 7th, goes down, right? This is the 7th for this one, so that C goes down. Okay. So Bach was following rules. Hooray. Okay, this is an example from Schumann. Okay, there are, if I remember right, 2 secondary chords again. So, okay. All right, so figure out both of them, and here's the answer. Okay, we're in the key of A. So our first secondary chord is right here. Okay, so we've got B sharp as the root, D sharp, F sharp, and A. And the leading tone does go up, right? Our 7th right here goes down, right? And so our chord right here is C sharp minor, right? That's our 3 chord. Kind of unusual, right? But yeah, he does a 7, fully diminished 7 of 3 right there. And it goes to a 3. Okay, our next one that was not a 5/7 chord. Okay, this one was a 5/7 chord, so we're skipping it. Okay, This is a 5-7 to 5 right here. Okay. Right here is our other secondary chord. Okay, it's not dominant. Okay, so this one is E sharp. G sharp is in the key. B and D, that is fully diminished again. Okay. And it looks like E sharp is the root, which would also mean it's the leading tone, and it goes to an F sharp chord next. And F sharp in our key of A, right here, is a 6 chord. So this is a 7, fully diminished 7 of 6, going to a 6 chord right there. Okay, next one is also not labeled, so you will have to figure it out. So this is a piece by Maria Zarmanovska. I'm pretty sure that's not really how you say her last name, but that's as close as it's going to get for Polish. Okay. All right. She was actually alive at the same time as Chopin, but you've probably never heard of her. So here's what this example sounds like. And that's sort of what it is. Okay, figure out the accidentals basically. Okay, so not super concerned about this measure. It's just a 1 chord. Okay, also not concerned about this part until we get to here. Okay, so figure out what this chord is. This chord as well. Okay, so we've got 2 chords to figure out. Pause the video. And if you're watching now, hopefully you figured it out, because here's the answers. Okay, so we are in B flat. So I already told you that the first measure was a 1 chord. So then we had a 5 chord. And then right here, this was a secondary dominant, okay? So D is the root right here. We've got D, F sharp, A right here, and then we do get a C natural too, okay? So D, F sharp, A, C. That sounds like it wants to resolve, and it does here. Okay, so it resolves to G minor, okay, which is what the D would be a 5 chord of, is G minor. Okay, so here's our next line. There we go. Okay, so then our other secondary chord that you needed to figure out was this fully diminished chord. Okay, so this one's root is B natural. You can kind of tell because here's our second interval, right? So we've got B natural as the root, D, F in the bass, and then A flat in root position. It would sound like this. Okay. So that is fully diminished. If B is the root, we should be tonicizing C, right? Which in our key of B flat is a 2 chord, okay? Which he does go to. Ignore this is an appoggiatura, right? But we do get to C right here. Okay, and if you look at the left hand especially, oh, she, I said he. This is she. Yeah, she gives us a C minor chord in the left hand, okay? All right. So this one though was inverted, right? Because B is actually the root. So B, D, F. The 5th is in the bass, which meant 4-3 inversion, and then of 2, right? Showing us that we are going to a 2 chord next. Okay. Okay, here's another example from Haydn. Okay, this one is actually already analyzed for you. Okay, just so that you can hear a couple different examples. I'm gonna skip the second line just because. Okay. Okay, so the first line, let me just play, starting here, okay, so that you can hear this 5 of 5 sound right here. Okay, so we're in the key of A flat. So starting right here where we have this bass clef sign. So you can hear it kind of has a 5-1 sound, right? But that's not the key that we're in. So B flat, D natural, he left out the F, right? And then A flat's our 7th, right? So leading tone goes up, 7th goes down. Then we kind of have this sol do thing going on. So 5, it should be 7, sorry, 5, 7 of 5, going to 5, okay. All right, then down here, let me start after the fermata. So we're gonna start just on a 1 chord. So. So this has almost the same ending as this part, right? It's 5-7-1, but in our actual key this time. Okay. All right, so back over here are all of our accidentals, right? So if you look through, we've got E flat, G flat, A natural, C, G flat to A is our second interval. So I meant that A natural was our root. So we've got A natural, C, B flat, G flat. Hopefully you can hear that is a fully diminished 7 sound. And our A natural looks like the root, right, which means the leading tone, and it's going to take us to B flat, which in the key of A flat is 2. Okay. And then the other things that resolve, G flat is the 7th, right? It should still go down by step, which is what it does. So normal. Fifths also usually go down by step in this 7 fully diminished 7 sound, which he did in this one too. Okay, I thought so. Okay, we're gonna switch shares so that we can practice spelling some. Okay. Okay, and I'm going to not do it with the stems going the right way. I'm sorry, you can forgive me. Okay, so we're going to start with the second chord first, and then we're gonna do the secondary chord, okay, which sounds weird. Okay, so in E major, our 5 chord is built on B. I'm gonna do this B up here, okay. All right, so for these 7 chords, you want to think leading tone to wherever you're going, okay? So always think down a semitone, okay? So B, right here, you can see it's not popping up, right? There we go, there it is. So here's our B. Down a semitone is not just A, it's A sharp, right? So then you have to build a fully diminished 7 chord off of A sharp, okay? So think 3 semitones between everything. So we've got A sharp, then up 3, right, is C sharp. Let's actually just put it right here. Okay, up another 3. So, okay, there we go. So you can see right here. So I have 1, 2, 3, right? Up another 3. 1, 2, 3 is E, right? Let's put E up here. Okay, and then count up another 3 from E. So 1, 2, 3. That's G natural. So just like secondary dominance, whoops, too many. Okay, there we go. Okay, so just like secondary dominance, these secondary chords are going to require an accidental, okay? All secondary chords do. A lot of the times though, with fully diminished 7 chords, you'll have more than just 1 accidental, okay? Which was the case here. We had 2 accidentals, okay? So just be careful. You'll always need at least 1 accidental, okay? If not multiple. Okay, now resolving it. So since we did our B in the bass, we've already taken care of the leading tone going up rule. So that 7th, which is our G natural, needs to go down by step. Okay. The other thing that normally happens in the fully diminished 7 chord is the 5th usually steps down. Okay, so we're gonna have this E go down by step as well. And then I would just double the tenor, so pretend that that B in the bass part also has a stem going up for tenor part too. Okay. All right, I'm just trying to save time on the whole stem issue though. Okay, next one over. So now we're in B minor, okay? So if you think in B minor, our 4 chord is E, okay? All right, so being E, now our leading tone into E is D sharp, okay? And this one's going to be in root position still. Okay, if you need to pause the video to figure out what notes are in that chord, you can, but I'm just going to spell it now. So D sharp, up 3 semitones is F sharp. We're gonna put the 3rd in the alto this time. Then up another 3 from F sharp, 1, 2, 3 is A. I'm gonna put it in the tenor part. All right, now you can hear there's a lovely tritone going in the bass clef part, right? Okay, and then up another 3 from A. So this A right here, right, is a C, but a C natural. Okay, so we're again going to have 2 accidentals in this. Okay, now resolving it. Leading tone goes up, which my bass line already did. My 7th goes down, so my soprano line has to go down to B. All right, and then other things that happen, 5th usually goes down as well. And then let's just double up the root, okay? Now you might have looked at this and been like, parallel 5ths, right? Except it's not, this is a tritone, okay? So we're actually okay. Oh, and my mistake, I didn't play any of these yet. Here's what that first one sounds like. Okay, cool. All right, but that's not the key we're in, right? We're really in this key, E major. This is the key, okay. All right, next one, we're in the key of B minor. Right. Okay, and then 7, fully diminished 7 of 4. Okay, and then, okay, really, we're in B minor though. All right, last one we're going to do. This one we're going to actually invert just for fun, okay? I'm sure you think it's super fun. Okay, F minor. If we're in the key of F minor, my 6th chord is whatever the skip lower, right? So it's on D flat, but notice I've put it in an inversion, right? So really my chord's going to be D flat, but F is going to be my bass note, okay? And then A flat, okay? All right, now if D flat is actually the root, think whatever D flat is, right? It's right here. Leading tone to that is C. So this time our accidental is not going to be our leading tone this time. Okay, but we're not going to put C in the bass, right? Because we've got an inversion. So let's put C in the center. Okay, so I've got C, and then if you go up 3 semitones, so 1, 2, 3, it's E flat, and it's not the bass. We need the 5th in the bass. Okay, then go up another 3 from E flat, so 1, 2, 3. G flat, not F sharp, right? Don't spell it like that. So G flat, okay. And then up another 3 from G flat is 1, 2, 3. A natural, right? No, it's not A natural, okay? We have to still spell it as though they're all like skips from each other, right? So C, E, G, B, right? But we need to make it look like A. So it's a B, double flat, double the amount of fun as normal. There we go. All right. Woohoo. Okay. Okay, so far nothing has actually resolved like it's supposed to, besides the 5th going down. Okay, so our leading tone is C. It needs to go up. Okay, so we've got like our temporary T going to Do. Okay. All right, the other thing that needs to happen is my 7th needs to go down. So this B double flat, right? It's going to go down to A flat, okay? Okay, and then from there, you can just double something, right? I would double the root still, okay? So there we go. Here's what it sounds like. So we're in the key of F minor, but then we get this chord. Okay, you can hear there was quite a bit of dissonance right here, right? Because I put tritones in like adjacent parts, right? This was a tritone here, tritone up here, and then it resolved. All nice. Okay. All right. So those are secondary chords. Sorry, not dominants. I didn't change my title. Those are secondary chords. Okay. Using, in this case, leading tone 7ths. Okay. Just because that is what you would see most commonly. Okay. All right. That is it for this video. See you next time.